Welcome to the Hopenning, the place where hope is happening, with your hosts Fran Cadron and Marina Theron-Monnery. For more information about Fran and Marina, or to apply to be a guest on the show, please go to our website www.hopenning.com. The Hopenning is for informal purposes only and is based on the research of your hosts, Fran and Marina. They, as well as their guests, are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from this podcast, which is not intended to replace any professional medical advice or care by medical professionals you are currently utilizing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hopenning, the place where hope happens. And this is number 95. Well done, Marina. So we have a special guest today, Roshni Sharma-Fleming, a co-Canadian on the other side of Canada. So we welcome you, Roshni. Roshni is a founder and CEO at StillFire Healing Incorporated. Her first name means light, and she is light. She brings light to her community and the people that she works with. She has a bachelor's in education, yay, and a master's degree in education from the University of Toronto, Nipissing. And she's a certified Ahava Healer, Educator, Lightworker, spiritual teacher, and Reiki Master. And it is a joy to have you here today, Roshni. We met, and I just had to get you on the show because we talked about it already. You just illuminate. You illuminate light. Yes.
Thank you very much.
So, Roshni, can you tell us your journey? I know you told Marina and I a little bit about how you ended up doing what you're doing. You've had a history of countries behind you, and that's always fascinating to me about how culture has influenced spirituality and where we end up, where we are.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to say I'm very honored to have met you both and to meet you both here today. I think light attracts light, which is why I think we're all here together. And like a moth to a flame, I'm always honored to reflect back what people show and what I see in people's hearts as well, which is really, really important, especially in this day and age. And so I just thank you again. And my background is quite interesting. I was born in Africa, in Kenya. And so I'm a first daughter of South Asian immigrants, and we came in 1973. And we talk about hope, even at that moment, hoping for a new life is what I experienced, and the hard work and the blood and the sweat and the tears that it takes in order to cultivate that, especially in a country that is not your own. And so on a level of physical trauma, even though I was only 8 months old, the cellular DNA of trauma, that of leaving my home soil and coming here, even though I had no idea what that was called at 8 months old, I do now. That's a trauma that I experienced very early on. Was it a bad thing? Absolutely not, because the adaptability and flexibility that comes when you're facing challenges, that's really, really, really where you get on yourself and you see how your parents have cultivated their work ethic, how they build community around you, how they work hard in order to earn their living. So we've established ourselves here in Toronto, Ontario for forever. And it's an interesting journey for me because I've always wanted to teach and to help other people. And that's something that has motivated me to start my own business as an entrepreneur and as a woman entrepreneur as well. The main thing right now, as Fran said, we found some common ground in being educators. So as you know, I do have that Bachelor of I have a business and French degree, and then I became an educator for 23 years. During that time, I've learned about people, about cultural influences, social equities and inequities, working with environments that cultivate students and working with environments that don't cultivate students at their best and highest level. And so when I look back at that career, it has shaped who I am today, because I know, and Marina and I were talking about that before you quickly joined us, was that when you're in environments that are challenging, you really either have to choose one of two things: fear or love. And I love working with children, and I still love children as well. Unfortunately, the environments were not always easy to navigate love during those times, but I tried my best, because children, at the end of the day, they're kids. Doesn't matter how mean or how challenged they are, they're still kids. And so that's where I garnered my inspiration from. During COVID, so we're going to fast forward a little bit. During COVID, the learning environment changed, and the world changed, as we all felt it, and on a very visceral level. And when the environments changed, everything became online, and you're especially on the education level. And I saw a lot. COVID highlighted a education system that required a lot of love, a lot of band-aids, a lot of resources, which the schools just didn't have. During that time, I flipped into virtual learning, and I found that very interesting. I think it would have been easier to have known all those tools beforehand, but I didn't. So I was training on the fly. I am not sure about what your experiences were, but I was training on the fly, trying to get my learning community going. And I burnt out. I burnt out because at the same time, I was being a mother, I was being a wife, I was teaching, I was trying to navigate COVID as a family, and avoiding the back and forth of the schools opening and closing. So there was no hopening in those areas during that time. And I know on a very, very, like I said, I use the word visceral, everyone was feeling it. The isolation, the disconnect from humans, and the fear that came and surrounded everyone. And as I stepped forward out of COVID, and it was a very slow process, almost like a chrysalis, I realized that I have been given other gifts, and gifts as a healer, and gifts to serve people on their journey back home to the divine, if you don't believe in God, but also helping people return back to who they are. And once you start returning back to who you are, you're honoring the divine, you're honoring God. And so this is a very this is the basis that formed my company. And when I came across I was wondering what I wanted to do next, and this company, the Ahava Healing Online Inc, jumped out at me. And from there, my whole life basically shifted. And it was an energetic shift, it was a physical shift, and it was a 4-month training about Ahava theory. And Ahava on a base level means to give love. That's basically what it means. And it means Ahava means to give love, and it's in Hebrew. This theory has been developed by the founder. Her name is Janice Taylor. And she developed this theory over 25 years of studying all holistic healing modalities. And these modalities, at the base level, there are all these beautiful modalities that we studied. We studied inner child theory. We studied Jung. We studied uh, so many different theorists, and also even at the basic level of even during Roman times, during even looking at Plato, and looking at all these different theories surrounding what does it mean to be who you are. And so Ahava theory, in a sense, in a very simple level, is studying early trauma and pain points in people and shedding love on them, shedding light, and showing people that you are worthy of something bigger outside of yourself. There is always more. And I have a colleague who we were we were actually we're working on a collaboration, and he says, I want to see what's out here, but he has had his hands here, because a lot of what we see is mind based. If we are able to garner the strength and the courage, and Ahava theory, certified Ahava healers also do this. So do hypno coaches as well. We do this because we offer support and love so that person can look outside of themselves. Because I think as we shift forward and move into a different way of being, which is thanks, well, I guess that's the blessing of COVID as well, is to think outside the box and to look outside of yourself and say, am I worthy of more? Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone is worthy of more. And when you are a healer and a light worker and helping people to return back to themselves, to heal the wounds that they have perhaps developed, it could be micro wounds, that and traumas that have developed over time, but then there would be wounds that, of course, there are, as Abraham Maslow would look at, those theories as well. If there was no food, there was abuse, those are traumas and pains too. And everything is worth looking at, shedding light on, and healing. Because once the healing begins, even though it's not linear, you are going to move forward and you would be able to see outside of yourself.
Roshni, I think it's so amazing. So many things that you said that I want to touch on. And Fran, you can help me, but I don't think out of about 60 guests we have had on our show up to date, I don't think there has been one whose life has not steered them in the direction of their purpose and the divine plan for their lives during COVID. And I think again we can look at it through the lens of fear or love, but I think all three of us have been touched in a very positive way in the direction that our lives took because of COVID, and in your case because of burnout. And then you are you are using so many different modalities. I want to read them here between Yusui Reiki, angel card readings, emotional freedom technique, which is one of my favorites, chakra balancing, and just so many components that you bring to your clients today. So I know that we do this work because of our journey. And so tell me more about your journey into getting to all of these things and the combination of all of that and what that means to your clients today.
That's a very good question. On a very esoteric level, and the idea of energy medicine is fascinating to me. And when somebody comes to me and says, you know what, I'm hurting, I need some help, shifting my career, my soul is being sucked dry. As soon as they say soul, my radar is already up, because what's important is that they're realizing they're not feeding what their soul actually needs. They recognize it and they are aware of it. And what this means is for my clients is that I'm able to, if for lack of a better word, alchemize the tools that I have and help them to see beyond what society has told them that they have to be. or what their conditioning has told them they have to be, what their social expectations are, what their social conditionings are, if they're a male or a female. I primarily work with women. As I was telling Marina earlier on, that women are feelers, and we tend to take on a lot of what is around us in our environments, because we are also creators as well. And the creators in a sense that we're creators of people, but also very highly creative when it comes to our day, our existence, our businesses, our communities. We give, and but also we create. And I'm very interested in that, because what that means for my clients is that I'm able to use the tools that I have and to um, scaffold a healing journey back to themselves. And that's really important for me. And it's a heart to heart. It's not a mind to heart thing, it's heart to heart. And when I'm looking at somebody who's struggling, I feel it. I feel it too. And so that's very meaningful for people, because, as you know, the idea of empathy, compassion, being seen, being heard, all of these things are so, so, so important for someone to have self-worth. And if I can do that one-to-one with my clients, that's very meaningful for them. And mind you, it's not easy. So I have to do my own healing work as well. Healers need healing too. So we to hold space for someone who's struggling is it's a very high honor for me. And it is something that I take very seriously when somebody has struggled or is in a challenging situation. And when you hold space for someone without judgment, without adding your 2 cents from the mind, as they say, is for lack of a better word. But when I can hold space for someone like that, that is where healing begins. And that's meaningful. When somebody's just listening to you, and they speak the same language as, or you're teaching them the language of how to love themselves fiercely on their journey back.
So you're an Ahava healer, right?
Yes.
Ahava. And you said it meant love.
Yes, to give
Correct.
love.
Yeah. So Marina and I, we do hypnotherapy, and so
Yes.
we've what we do is we relax our client, our guest, to a point where their conscious mind is kind of put on the side and their subconscious is heightened in order to express and receive thoughts, and tell us things that have been blocking them. And then we've got a process that we go through while they're in that type of relaxed state, where it's a lot easier for them to reframe their beliefs, to change their beliefs, and we're really good at being the cheerleader and helping them to change those limiting beliefs. So what does Ahava do? Like you talk about the pain points and how we hold our pain in these certain pain points, and with your healing modality you get to those pain points. So I know about chakra, but how is Ahava different than that?
So Ahava encompasses a lot of different modalities. The main thing in Ahava, there's like a 3-step process. We look at one of the most eye-opening steps is looking at a person's data on a whiteboard. And it's literally a board where we actually look at when they were born, what their parents did for a living. And we go through a series of very simple questions, and we delve into a history of a person's beingness. And when we look at that, something magical happens. And we sometimes call it a magic board or a magic whiteboard, is because the universe also speaks in numbers, and we look at patterns, and we look at I use my intuition I use science, I use numerology, I use all these lighter tools that they don't teach you in school, but almost like they're given to you and they become a more pronounced as you get older and you want to help people to do that. So that first step is extremely important. It takes about a couple of hours, but it shows an Ahava healer where to start. Because for some people, it might be um, not receiving enough food as a child. For some people, it might be not having a grounded place to live, like you moved a lot. That could also be a part of their history. And there's no doubt that no one's life is perfect, and we're not looking for that. But what we do is we look at all of that data and we say, oh, look at this pattern. Look at this. And this pattern of numbers that comes around, it actually helps us build something called a pain triangle. And that pain triangle is highlighted based on the numbers that come up on this board. And it sounds complex, but it's not. Because what we do is then we look at this triangle that's been developed around you using, and what develops this ego triangle or this codependent triangle, the ego. The ego has helped you to survive. And there's nothing wrong with ego. Ego gets a bad rap. But we look at this triangle and then we say, okay, who did you have in your triangle, including yourself, that helped you to survive? And we use the numerology from the whiteboard, and we take that whiteboard information and we create this codependent triangle. Codependency is a bit of a buzzword, but basically that's where you've learned how to be and not be. And so we build that, and then we want to flip that over into basically a triangle where you see yourself as someone outside of this triangle, outside of the conditioning you received, outside of what you needed to do to survive. If you're in survival mode, you're not going to thrive. So this triangle that we flip over, we build this triangle around you. And this is part of the discovery phase in our practice. And this discovery is difficult. Healing, as you know, is very messy. And so Ahava healing is not a one size fits all. We look at each individual and make sure that what it is they need is absolutely tailored to what they're and matched to what they absolutely need for their highest well-being and for their highest purpose. It's not for the faint of heart. Healing is messy, like I said. And so when we flip this triangle over, we want to go from fear and ego to love and acceptance. And that's where the yin yang is. And it takes sometimes a bit of a process when it comes to the theory itself. It goes through discovery, adventure, and homecoming. So there are like 3 phases. Again, every phase, everybody is different, but that's the general theory around this Ahava theory. Is you're going to take that client and walk them home through a series of activities. Another activity is also something called miracle writing. And I finished a project with someone recently, and miracle writing is another way to heal. I myself use writing for stream of consciousness to just move the thoughts out of my head onto paper, and then you're clear. So you're clearing out your channels. So miracle writing is another activity we may use in order for the client to become free and to ensure that their thoughts are not actually clouding their mind. And it happens. This is a function of living in the 3D society where you're being the information coming to you is actually can cloud essentially what it is that you're doing and cloud your divine flow, no matter what you're doing. And so this miracle writing piece is a 30-day activity daily, where you just write to each other without any judgment, no fear, no response. You just write what's on your heart. And it is very powerful. It's very cleansing and it's very healing. Um, Another activity we may use is developing activities to meet your inner child. So if you weren't allowed to eat Fruit Loops as a child, we would say, go and get some Fruit Loops. It sounds minute, but it's so powerful for someone who never got Fruit Loops as a child, because maybe someone couldn't afford it or they weren't allowed. God bless him. My husband says, he says, my mom didn't buy me Cheerios as a child, so I have like 6 boxes of Cheerios in the house, so that he can also, and it's sometimes it's as simple as that, just eating something you weren't allowed. And so we also do inner child activities as well. We also do go and listen to stories or books, or read books or listen to music that were a part of your childhood, that perhaps what is happening around you when you develop that codependent triangle. What's happening? When the year that you were born, what's happening during that time? Was there war? Was there peace? I know when my sister was born, the Pope came to Toronto, and that was a big thing for my mom. She's like, well, this is a special kid. The Pope's in town because she's born. And so just like activities around that, like going and delve into the magic of who you are. We in Jewish faith, they talk about, I forgot the actual word, but they talk about the soul's gold. Everybody has this. Everybody has this. So an Ahava theorist, an Ahava healer will help you to go and mine for that. Let's go and look for that gold, and let's see who you are. And this is very powerful, because once you return back to your authentic self, life's going to open up miracles and blessings to you. And so this phase of discovery, of adventure, and then coming home to yourself, making sure that you are actually in alignment, Marina, as you said, being in alignment with yourself. This is what Ahava healers do.
That's so amazing, Roshni. I hear so many, I started to make notes here because there's so many things you touched on that I want to talk about. And one is the ego. And I never realized how important the ego can be until I read Anita Moorjani's books. What is it? Sensitive is the New Strong.
Mm-hmm.
And being an empath and understanding how you can use the ego to help you. And in that sense, it's not a bad thing, where sometimes we even tell in the work that we do our clients to fight against the ego. So I thought that was really good. But also being that empath, and what I hear from you is what I really appreciate, that a healthy empath becomes the teacher of how other people can function and the example to them, where an unhealthy empath, which probably would be a lot of our clients, are somebody who self-sacrifice a lot and would give so much of themselves. So I'm so glad that you tapped on that a little bit, and I want to circle back to that. So what is your experience, your personal experience with being an empath, and how you can use being an empath as a strength and not a weakness?
Okay, this is somebody's asked this question to me before, and as a child, I was told I was too sensitive.
Me
That
too.
Yes, I was told that you have to be stronger, and that I was that child who had butterflies in her stomach on the first day of school every year, forever. I was that child that I would go to school and just be absolutely miserable. I felt everything, and I tried to suppress it, which was in order to survive, but then also in order to be loved more. Like I said, if I was a bit stronger, maybe I could be just loved more, right? Like just love me more, right? Like even though I was loved, um, don't get me wrong, but I was told you have to be stronger. You know, yes, the cats died, but you have to be stronger. Um, uh, I I cried in Disney movies. I cried in a movie called cried watching a movie called about a stray dog. Like that, I cry in IKEA
I still
commercials.
cry for those, so you're not alone.
I cry for IKEA commercials. You know, I am like that. I am like that. And it's only since I would say my son has been born where I started to embrace that as a superpower. Because if I didn't have empathy, how can you hold space for a child who's struggling physically, emotionally, especially when they're babies? If you don't have empathy, how can you listen to them really? You can't listen here. You have to listen from your heart. And this is the difference. I'm not a perfect human being. I've had my good and bad days, but embracing empathy as a healer has helped me to connect with people at a very grounded, blessed, and simple level, because I can listen to people and um, put myself in their shoes. And um, showing that compassion and empathetic listening and being presence with empathy is very, very powerful. People just want to be heard. People just want to be heard. Um, I remember being approached by someone who was homeless, and I I'm always I teach my son, I said, just give money where you can. Go and approach them. No, they're scary. No, they're not scary. These are human beings. I remember holding space for one gentleman for almost an hour. He just wanted someone to listen. That's it. He didn't want money. He wanted someone to listen to him, and I did it. And my sister, my son at the time was extremely fearful for that. And I said, no, there's no fear here. You listen. And this is empathy itself can be something that can be cultivated and can help clients uh, understand and build a bridge of comfort and love between you and the other person, so that there's not this disconnect, right? We want to make sure that our current clients are comfortable, but at the same time that there's a human being listening to them at all times. And there's human beings supporting them and bringing them home to what they need to do. And this is very important. I think people these days are struggling with isolation and loneliness. And even when you feel someone online, you can feel someone online. You just have to be
Absolutely.
empathetic. There's the technology is not a yes, we're disconnected physically. I mean, I would love to meet you both in a coffee shop here in Toronto. That would be so fun. But empathy can connect, and it's borderless. It's borderless. You can be empathetic with someone across the world or next door. Doesn't matter where you are. So empathy helps to bring your heart in alignment with the other person, and superpower that definitely needs to be cultivated with people.
When we were talking earlier, I'm going to quote you, right?
Sure.
You said we were mirrors for each other. Mirrors for each other. So as you spoke about the homeless guy and being with him for an hour and just listening to him, how were you being a mirror for him?
Yes.
How does that connect?
Yes. When he was telling me his story, and his story was not nice. Um, his story was horrific. And how I mirrored him was his emotions because of being an empath. He was crying, I was crying. He was laughing, I was laughing. He was angry, I was angry. Not outwardly, like I didn't say anything. I just knew it because I was listening, not from here, from my heart. Did I want to fly out of there because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is no good. That's my head talking. And I said, no, shut this down. This person has been placed in your morning in front of the dentist office for a reason. And that opportunity presented itself. So that mirror of emotions, of aligning with someone's experiences, not because we've had similar experiences, because humans are emotional. We are going through life with feeling, with emotions, with fears, but we have to choose love all the time. You have to try and cultivate that experience of love. And how did I connect with him? I just listened. I became a mirror for his up and down in the conversation, and I offered no judgment. No judgment. It's difficult because you're like, are you putting yourself in danger? You go through all these your ego questions. This is scary. My son is like holding my hand really tight. Should I fly out or do I need to run into the dentist office? I just shut everything down. I said, no, I've been placed here for a reason. Yeah.
Beautiful. And that's the tough thing, right? It's that, what is it about people? We hear one story of something happening and suddenly it's always going to happen. So you must never talk to a homeless person. You must never, open your door to someone you don't know. You must never talk to someone on the street or allow your child to, because God forbid, right? It's like this fear culture. I guess we live in a fear culture, and to the detriment. But there's so many of us now. It's like, as you were speaking, Roshni, and we came out of COVID, right? All of us that were, kind of doing our own thing. And then COVID happens and then we're shocked. It's like this, someone put like these shocks on us and shocked us. And we discovered, hey, I don't want to live like that. I choose not to live like that. I choose not to believe in the fear is greater than love. I choose not to. And so we started looking elsewhere. We started developing a different type of community of people that would uplift the love and put down that fear. Like, I am not living in fear. I choose not to. And so connecting with people of like-minded, it was like a big sieve, and we just started to shake out.
I love
and
that.
all the people that continued to want to live like that, that's fine. But the rest of us, we kind of sieved out and we collected together and we chose, let's try to make the world a better place, because that's who we are, and let's use our superpowers. So I'm really grateful that we were able to meet you too, and build our community bigger, the Hopenning community, because one person, we've talked about this before, Marina, one person creates this ripple, and the butterflies on the other side of the world start fluttering, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
That's amazing. So Roshni, we normally ask our guests to give us hope. So what is your message of hope that you can leave us with today?
Hope to me does not exist outside of ourselves. Hope to me means looking within and finding that flame that's within your heart and lighting that up every day. And it might touch 2 people or 2,000 people, but hope exists within. If you are looking for hope outside, take a look at a tree one day. They still stand throughout the winter without any leaves. There's no protection. and they're still there. Hope is everywhere, but start within yourself. Find that fire within, find that light within, and light that up every day.
Beautiful. Amazing. And then how can people get in touch with you?
I have my website is www.stillfirehealing.com. I can also be found on LinkedIn and on Instagram. That's my handle is StillFire Healing 888. And those are the top three connections people can make with me.
We wish you blessings. We wish you light, and keep doing what you're doing. We in Canada here, we're just lighting up the whole country, right? All these sparks of light throughout Canada. It's wonderful to find another Canadian healer to join.
I love that. I love that, and I love that we gathered here together today, and that we see each other's light so readily, and because this ripple of 3 can become a ripple of 3,000, and that is extremely important, especially this day and age. So thank you for inspiring me. Thank you for both for holding space for me here today, and thank you for your kindness during the Hopenning, and blessings back to you both.
Thank you so much, Roshni. Thank you for being here and for being our guest, and help us to spread this message of hope out to the world. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Fran. Thank you to all our faithful viewers for walking this beautiful journey of hope with us. And if you like what we do, please subscribe, and we will see you next time, bringing you more hope.
Thank you.